Okay, so it's TTPFL news. So what's the date today? It's the 19th of January. We've had about a month of football in Trinidad, professional football. Not the best experience in the world, but let's have a talk about it. We had some games this weekend. We saw Defence Force maintaining their lead in the league, defeating Central FC 3-0. Um, Eagles got their first point. They drew with Prisons. People seem surprised, but well, let's start off. Let's start off talking about the clubs. I'm looking at the table just before this weekend's games, and Defence Force seems to be slowly pulling away with the league. They've got some very quality players. They made some good purchases. They've got Isaiah Leacock. They've got Brent Sam. They've got Kevin Molino, who has just been doing a wonderful job. I am of the opinion that Molino and Jovan Jones are a bit long in the tooth. They can produce at PFL level, but they're not the players they used to be, which were great players. But Molino is manhandling this league, and good for him. Good for proving me wrong. And they're slowly building a gap between themselves and the rest of the crowd. You have next with Central. Central, basically a football punching bag in 2023-2024. They've made some purchases, and they're playing a much better brand of football. I was told through the grapevine that the guy who owns Central also owns Rangers, which I believe is Mr. Ferguson. Don't know what he's doing with two football teams when one catching tail, but so be it. Central has really improved, and this is great because Central has a short but rather impressive history in Trinidad and Tobago and Caribbean football. Then you got Athletic Club POS. Now, about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I would have said to you, POS is going to be in the top two, probably second, but that's Defence Force winning the league. In my humble opinion, I mean, a lot of football left, people can make purchases, but POS has had a bit of a problem, and the last 30 days they've lost people like John Paul Rochford and Dwayne Muckett. Rochford has gone to Central FC. Muckett, they say, has gone to the Middle East. Wouldn't tell us where. I don't know if it's a secret. This is a bit of a void for any club in Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, they've got Shea Benny, and he's a wonderful player. But when you lose Rochford and Muckett at the same time, you're going to, the young, good players might be good, but it takes a time to fill that gap, to fill that void. And this is a problem a lot of the clubs are having when they sell their players to other clubs. Then you got miscellaneous Police FC. Police FC had a great 2024 season. They brought in a lot of players, a bit old, but very productive players. They had Alvin Jones, who was in his late 20s. They had Jovan Jones in his 30s. They had Kevin Molino. They had Wolf. I forgot which Wolf it is, Anton Oglinton, but they had Wolf. They had Keron Cummings. They had Kadeen Highland. Every player there is in the early to mid 30s. Maybe even late, with the exception, of course, of Alvin Jones. And of course, their keeper is in his mid-30s, but that's not a big deal. Most of those players are gone, and Police not doing as well. And it's showing. They just don't have that extra punch up front. Caledonia AIA, well, you got to give them a lot of credit. They had a horrible 2023 season. They started 2024 really badly off. They started to improve, made some purchases mid-season, had a much better second half of the season in 2024. And they have started off really, really well here in 2025 season. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish in the top four. Caledonia has been going really, really well. And this is what some of these clubs had to do in 2023. Reboot, take some time, settle in, and take some punches early on. Samoa Jabloti, Samoa, one of the old firm clubs here in the PFL. They've been around probably for close to 50 years, maybe more. And, they had to actually take 2024 off. But again, a club that when we had the Pro League back in 2001 has had a very wonderful history in the PFL and Caribbean football. So it's really good to see them come back. Club Sando. Now, with Club Sando, they had a good 2023 season, not so great in 2024. But in the space of 1 year, or 1.5 years, between 2023 and 2024, this is a club that lost Alvin Jones, Nathaniel James, and then Real Gil. Now, when they lost the first two players, that left a bit of a gap. They brought in Real Gil, then he went to third tier in America. And you can have a good young squad, but again, when you lose players of that quality, it takes a while to fill the void, and Club Sando is showing this. Next, you got Prisons. Well, Prisons. They too were not that amazing in 2024, 2023, but they find themselves not in the bottom three as of before this weekend. And they actually drew a match with Eagles. Prisons, nobody expects much of them, but what Prisons and Eagles did do in 2024 was spring surprises, along with 1976 Phoenix. And you're looking at some clubs who are going to probably be losing valuable points against these teams. Eagles surprised a lot of people in the 2024 season, in the second half of the season. Then you got Point Fortin Civic. Point Fortin Civic had an okay 2023 season, have not been that amazing for the 2024 and this season. They don't seem to have any big name players that can make up a difference. I've heard they've got a good young squad playing a nice brand. They just need to settle in. But, they don't have that Real Gate or John Paul Rochefort and so on. Then you got Phoenix. Well, Phoenix. Phoenix got a battering in 2024. And then in the second half of the season started to pull off a few upsets here and there. And they were really the proverbial David versus Goliath. Worse for them is when a mother football in Phoenix has not played a game in Tobago. I don't know if there's some kind of strategy here. The PFL and the communication. I have no idea what's going on, but I suppose at some point, Phoenix will be able to play football at home. Then you've got Rangers and Eagles. Again, this is before this weekend's football propping up the league. Rangers has got to be one of the shocks and disappointment, La Hoquita Rangers of the PFL. They started off 2023 really, really organized with a lot of big name players, and they came fourth. Following season, a disappointing fifth. This season, they're struggling not to be last. They're playing a decent brand of football. They've got some decent players, but the big name players, a lot of them have left the team. And they're struggling. They're really struggling. It's a bit of a disappointment because they seem to have a fair bit of organization. I don't know if it's some internal issues or what. I may have to make a part to this video going on a bit long. And then you got Eagles propping up the bottom of the table. And who knows, Eagles may not finish last because, let's face it, Eagles surprised a lot of people last season in the second half. Anything can happen. But my prediction is that Defence Force will win this league. And I see Samoa Jablute, Central, and Caledonia AIE fighting it up for second to fourth. And of course, as we know, 1, 2, and 3 will vie for the Caribbean title. So I wish them the best of luck. I see Phoenix definitely creating some upsets and taking away points from people. As we know, clubs sometimes make purchases, and some of these clubs might do a lot better, but the gap is beginning to open up by Defence Force. They've got their quality players. They even got a man like Brent Sam on the bench and so on. I want to move on. Let me see. Do I have time? Yeah, I got a little time. I want to talk about two players I want people to look out for. We all know Isaiah Lee is good. Isaiah Leacock is good. But John Paul Rochefort is good. But the two players I noticed in the last two seasons, and I don't get to see a lot of them because we're not getting any football on TV, but one is a guy called Jeremiah Vidal for Prisons. In 2024, he was coming off the bench, little fella. And when he came off the bench, he was the best player on the field for Prisons, fast and skillful. I think he scored 2 goals the other day in a loss that Prisons had. I forgot who the opposition was. This is a guy you want to look out for. I'm surprised some of the other clubs have not picked up on him. And last year, I would have put this guy on my national under-20 team or have him train with them. The other guy is a guy we haven't seen because of injury, and that is LaShawn Roberts of Tobago. LaShawn played for Defence Force in 2023. He was some kind of super sub on a team that had like the likes of Kieron Cummings and Brent Sam. This guy was coming off the bench and scoring regularly. He was amazing. We didn't see him in 2024. He was coming off injury. He was on the second 11. He has now transferred over to 1976 Phoenix. Sometimes he starts, sometimes he's on the bench. But this was a guy when in 2023 he was fast, strong, and scoring goals regularly. And I hope he can handle his injury problems and bounce back to the player that he should be. I have some more ideas for the TTPFL. I'm going to have to make it a part 2. So I hope you're enjoying this, and let's continue to support the TTPFL and hope that us abroad can get some games on some sort of medium.